The Louisiana Purchase and Lewis and Clark's Expedition by Tyler, Hayley, Hunter, and Anyssa. Americans had a dream that one day the United States land would be from sea to shining sea. This dream was called Manifest Destiny. It didn't matter if Britain owned some of the land. They stood up to them before, and they will do it again. In 1776, it seems like a dream to spread across the continent, but by 1848, it was reality. This dream began with one of America's greatest presidents, Thomas Jefferson. This is a story of the Louisiana Purchase in plain English by Anyssa, Hayley, Hunter, and Tyler. In the early 1800s, American farmers were using the Mississippi River to transport their goods. When they transport their goods, they would use the New Orleans port. The only problem was that the French owned the port, and if French farmers settled, American farmers could lose the port and not be able to use it anymore. President Thomas Jefferson knew the concern of farmers and offered to buy the port for $7.5 million. But instead, the French offered $15 million for all of Louisiana. It was a deal Jefferson couldn't pass up. The United States population was growing so rapidly that their first chance to expand was a golden opportunity. Many farmers were settling the land east of the Mississippi. Farmers relied on the New Orleans port to export their crops to the market. Jefferson knew this port was a big deal to farmers because that's what supported their lifestyles. Napoleon, the French leader, hoped to settle the Louisiana Territory with many French farmers. This alarmed many American settlers because if French settled, they might close down the port to Americans. The president understood the concerns of American farmers and decided to send James Monroe to France to offer to buy the New Orleans port for $7.5 million. By the time James Monroe reached France, Napoleon had changed his mind about Louisiana. Napoleon's slaves in the Caribbean revolted against the French troops by beating them. Since they revolted, they no longer needed Louisiana to feed the slaves. Plus, France and Great Britain were going to war, so he knew he might lose Louisiana to Great Britain. It made sense to sell all Louisiana for $15 million. This offer stunned Monroe. Instead of just getting the port city for the U.S. could double in size. To most people, the Louisiana Purchase was the best land deal ever. They got the land to 2 to 3 cents an acre. What more could they ask for? But some objected and said we shouldn't have spent all that money on land that we cannot control. Jefferson was startled on the controversy because it was unconstitutional. He still believed it was an astonishing offer and didn't regret ignoring the Constitution for a great land deal. But Jefferson had many questions, like, what did it look like? Could people live on it? Well, to find the answer, President Jefferson set up an expedition to search the land. The expedition started in 1804, and it was led by Lewis and Clark. The first goal for this trip was to make friends with Indians and to see if they wanted to trade. Also, they tried to find the Northwest Passage. The last goal was just exploring the new land that Americans had bought. In 1804, their expedition set sail on 3 boats, carrying 45 members. They faced many hardships, such as paddling upstream and mosquitoes. When the expedition reached the Indians, they welcomed them. The Indians were fascinated with Clark's slave skin color. In the winter, they settled in North Dakota, and there a fur trader joined them with his wife, Sacagawea, and their son. They set out from there in 1805, and as they moved up the Missouri River, grizzly bears raided their camps and game became scarce. But they were in luck because they now reached the land of Sacagawea's childhood. Thanks to her brother was a chief now and provided them with horses they really needed. They finally made it over the Rockies. and explorers were more dead than alive. Denise Pierce Indians saved them from starvation. As winter was coming, for the explorers finally made it to the Pacific coast. This journey took 2 years and 4 months. Lewis and Clark had achieved all their goals for this trip and more. And that is the story in plain English by Anyssa, Hayley, Hunter, and Tyler.